To the casual eye, Tang had appeared ready for sea upon launching, but she was now securely moored abreast our shipbuilding office. Electrical cables had been snaked below, and already shipyard workmen had resumed the tasks that had been interrupted by the christening. According to the schedule, their work would continue for nearly 2 months. During the first few weeks, our ship's company assembled. Some men arrived from submarine school or schools pertinent to their particular rate. Many came directly from other submarines, or after extended periods with one of the manufacturers of Tang's major machinery. A few reported from bases or ships and had no submarine experience, but there was a place for each of them as well. The senior officers and petty officers brought with them perhaps more varied patrol experience than had ever before been assembled for fitting out and fighting a submarine. Those men who had served in some of the 29 Asiatic Fleet submarines had experienced the general Japanese onslaught that coincided with the attack on Pearl Harbor. During the retreat from the Philippines, their submarines had been assigned trying and sometimes impossible missions in the delaying actions. Then, from bases in Australia, their boats ranged the southwest Pacific and adjacent seas after enemy ships. At the outset, the men from Pacific Fleet submarines had had an easier time of it. Only the 5 submarines undergoing repair were at Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941. Neither they nor the submarine base was damaged. Another 5 were out on patrol with torpedo tube outer doors open for firing. The remaining 12 were at sea or on the west coast. Offensive action against enemy shipping started immediately. Their patrols ranged from the Solomons to the Kuriles, through the Pacific Islands to the Japanese Empire, and on to the Yellow Sea. For those members of Tang's crew who had not yet patrolled in submarines, these officers and petty officers formed an experienced nucleus to point the way. They would make it their business to instruct the new hands, for in submarines, perhaps more than in any other fighting unit, the survival of all could depend on the performance of any individual. If our ship's company brought something unique to Tang, she more than matched it. Great sections for other boats of her class were now moving from shop to ways, and they appeared identical to sections of previous submarines. A close end-on look at the cylindrical pressure hull, however, showed steel plating of twice the former thickness. The external frames welded to the pressure hull seemed to be rolled T-bar and had dimensions you might expect to see in the girders of a steel bridge. In the torpedo rooms, where the ballast tanks and framing were inside the pressure hull to permit streamlining, the frames remained visible. They were massive, both in depth and thickness of plate. Thus, Tang would be the first deep-hulled submarine in the Pacific, with tactical capabilities due to her superior depth still unknown.